Hi friends, and welcome. On today's adventure, we're headed west. And by we, I mean Brandon Jewelries and I, and by west, I mean to central South Dakota. Winter South Dakota to be exact. We're heading out there to do some open land archery hunting for whitetail and mule deer, but I truly felt that we would be remiss if we didn't take out at least some time each day to chase the raucous roosters that this area is famous for. You see, central South Dakota has some of the finest wild pheasant hunting available anywhere in the United States. And when Brandon told me he had never even tried to take a rooster pheasant in his entire life, well, sometimes I forget just how fortunate I was to grow up in Michigan's thumb in the late 60s and early 70s. The fact that Brandon had never hunted pheasants ever made me feel like he was just a little bit neglected in his youth. And seeing as how we were fortunate enough to have Jim Lucky Miller and his dogs to guide us at least for the first full day, I told Brandon, you know what, you've never shot a rooster. I'm not even going to pick up a gun until you get your first bird. And if I'd have known how long that was going to take, I probably wouldn't have made that promise. But friends, a promise is a promise, at least to me. I knew that sooner or later he'd get the hang of it. At least I hoped he would. Hey, I'm your host, Kyle Randall. This is my Wilderness Journal, and we're headed to South Dakota for Brandon's first bird right now. And this is Blondie.
Yep. Just turned 7.
And this is not Blondie. And he's got no birds under his belt. This
None
is your
whatsoever.
first ever pheasant hunt, right?
Yes, sir.
But you'll be an old pro by the time we get to the end of that Milo.
I would imagine so.
I figure.
Ready to roll?
Jim started us out hunting some pre-cut strips of Milo. And it wasn't long before Blondie started getting birdie.
Sounds pretty good right here.
And within the first few minutes, we flushed a hen and then a whitetail.
Look how we tried to use that fence row to cover him.
There was obviously wildlife here. Now all we needed was the right kind. We kept working along, and I should tell you that humming noise in the background
Right here.
was a giant combine harvesting sunflowers on the other side of the road. That, combined with the wind, made it really hard to hear, so I had to keep my eyes on Brandon to see if he could see a bird flushing, because sometimes you didn't hear it get up. Hen. Rooster! Brandon fired both barrels, but, well, it was just his first try. Jim and Blondie were certainly doing their job, and there were plenty of birds. It seemed like every strip of Milo we worked, we flushed at least a few. Unfortunately, most of the time, the birds were running quite a ways ahead before they'd flush, and that was making it really difficult for Brandon to get on them quick enough to get a decent shot. Jim suggested we could remedy that by moving to a shelter belt, some thicker cover. Maybe then the birds would hold a little tighter and Brandon could get on them a little quicker. Sooner or later, he was going to get his first bird.
There'll be some quick shooting right here.
Oh, you the man. You can do it. Look at that. Look at all that room you got.
Like 4 feet.
It's nothing different than an old fence row from back when I was a kid. I know you've never seen one, but
They had those back then?
they did. Tractor lanes and fence rows.
I had them when I was a kid too.
Must have been in a museum. Getting real fast. Blondie was obviously working a bird, and then she turned and headed out toward the Milo, and
Way too far away.
Brandon was trying, but the birds really were flushing a long ways out. We decided to turn and work our way back, and that's when Jim noticed an awesome buck rub on a black locust tree. There were scars on that tree over 4 foot up. Certainly something to take note of, seeing as how we were actually there deer hunting too.
Rooster right in front of you.
We needed to try something different. There were definitely birds in that shelter belt as well. Unfortunately, they weren't holding for the dogs. They would actually run out into the milo and then flush, and that meant they were getting up even farther away, making it even tougher on Brandon. He did get off a few shots, but unfortunately, so far at least, we still had nothing to show for our efforts. Jim suggested that he knew of a shelter belt that was even thicker, older trees, higher grass. Maybe that would get some birds to check up, stay in close so the dogs could get on them, and then maybe Brandon could get a shot. And finally, there were birds here too. But now it was too thick by the time Brandon got his gun up and started swinging, and they were out of his sight window. Jim decided we best move back out into the open.
Okay. He'll get in trouble for that, Right, see him hand it right at him?
Can you make his legs taller too?
I'll make the fence shorter.
Well, that's the same difference.
That'll work. Come on, man. Get some kind of footage or something. Nice kind of stubby legs.
After a short discussion on the reasonable height of a barbed wire fence, we moved back out into the milo, and it wasn't 5 minutes later, and
nope. There goes one. That's a hen. There goes a rooster. That's a hen.
we seemed to be jumping birds everywhere. Even the deer were flushing birds for us. Rooster!
Shoot him! So, what happened there? Too much deer?
Too much deer.
Yeah? Not enough pheasant?
They're not very good pointers.
You got a deer tag and pheasant license. We got nothing.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff, isn't it? What do you think of pheasant hunting now?
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's a workout too.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's big country. You got to cover a lot of ground.
There are a lot of birds here.
Yeah, we got into probably 20 here in the last 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But none in here.
Well, that's just good because then I don't have to carry them.
That's true.
That's good for me.
And they don't have to clean them.
Well, there you are. You ready for dinner?
I'm more than ready for dinner.
And day one, we go.
By the end of the first day, Brandon still didn't have his first rooster, but we had hit upon a plan that seemed to be working, at least in part, working the thicker cover quietly and easing along the edge, pushing the birds out into the crop fields where there was a cut strip along the edge, seemed to be getting us a lot closer. Brandon was getting more shots, and I knew it was going to be just a matter of time before he actually knocked down a few. So the next morning, after sitting in a tree stand for a couple of hours, we headed back out, this time on our own. We were going to work those thickets, push the birds out, and then hopefully Brandon would finally get that first bird.
Pretty tough stuff. Another hen. There goes one. That's a hen. There goes a rooster.
We were definitely getting these birds figured out. Now all I needed was for Brandon to get the gun out in front of a couple of them, and I was sure he was going to get his bird. We worked our way down through some thickets again, and then crossed over and headed out toward another milo field. This system was putting birds in the air. Now all we needed to do was put a couple back on the ground. We worked our way across an old pasture and out through the rest of that shelter belt, turned and started heading up the milo field, and within minutes we were back in 'em. Rooster, shoot him! Yes, the plan was definitely working. I do, however, recall thinking maybe I better check the shells Brandon brought because, there might not be any BBs in them. Rooster, shoot him! Another swing and another miss, and I was thinking, you know, Jason might have just dumped those BBs out. You can't tell. He'd do something like that. Rooster! Shoot him! Shoot him again! Rooster! Shoot him! Well, at least we were getting into the birds. By now it was clear Brandon was struggling with these fast-moving birds. But when I asked him if he'd had enough for the day, he sort of surprised me. Ready to call it a day?
Not quite yet.
All right. Show me what you got, big boy.
I'll bring it.
Obviously, he wasn't done, at least not yet. And I have to tell you, friends, I really admire that. I have a real hard time with people that quit just because something's tough. There's another rooster. The end of day 2, and just about everything was working. Our plan to work the thickets and push birds to the edge before they flushed was definitely paying off. There were just 2 of us now, but we were still managing to put up plenty of birds, some of them plenty close enough for Brandon's 12 gauge. Our plan was definitely working, at least till that point. But I felt certain if we covered enough ground, pushed enough heavy cover, we were certainly going to flush enough birds to get Brandon his first pheasant. It was just a matter of time. And I felt certain of it until the next morning I noticed Brandon wasn't getting ready. Instead, he was standing in the lodge staring at his cell phone. Hey, you ready to go? Quit playing that phone. Turns out he wasn't even ordering more shotgun shells. He was looking at the weather forecast that in part stated by afternoon we were going to have 30 to 50 mile-an-hour winds, and unfortunately this time the weather guesser was right. Think the wind will blow! Took the siding right off that house. Friends, we set out that afternoon into 40 and 50 mile-an-hour straight-line winds. It would have been real easy for Brandon to say, you know, let's just take the afternoon off and stay in, but that wasn't the case. We started working the milo fields around this old farmstead, and before long... Rooster, shoot him! Shoot him again! What happened there?
I stayed on the edge. Birds.
Yeah?
Yep.
I didn't see them fall.
No, they're fine, nice and good. They're healthy.
They're okay. The Audubon Society is going to send you a letter.
They're going to thank me?
That's right. Or something. It'll be all right.
Oh, I'll keep shooting, don't worry.
Well, we got more shells.
Right, until I'm out. We're all good.
Even in this wind, we were getting up birds, and Brandon was getting chances. He did make a few comments, none of them nasty, but it was so loud and so windy I couldn't hear him. And in the interest of sparing your hearing, I hope you enjoy this music while I show you the rest of our trip around that old homestead. Think the wind will blow?
Yeah.
5 to 10.
That's what they said.
Yeah. One more pass. And we made one more pass, one more loop around that old homestead, kicked out one more hen, and then we decided maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea to take a little break. Maybe this wind will actually lay down. You did. Let's do it again. We were 4 days into a 5-day hunt, and still no birds. And on top of that, the wind was still blowing, forecast for over 40 mile an hour this day. And on top of that, the temperature had dropped to 29 degrees. Definitely not the easiest hunting conditions. I told Brandon we're going to go out, we're going to stay at it, we'll get some birds up, and he insisted that I take a turn. He'd suggested it many times through those days, but there was no way at this late date I was going to take the gun and go out and try my hand, because to tell the truth, it would have felt a whole lot like quitting, at least to me. And if you know anything about me, anything about the Wilderness Journal family at all, there is definitely no quit in our outfit. We were going to stick this out until Brandon got a bird or they threw us out of South Dakota, one or the other. We worked our way out through yet another grassy shelter belt, and at the end of almost every one of them, there were so many birds in this place, it was tough not to keep trying, not to keep going. Still, I had to believe that it was starting to wear on Brandon, even though he didn't show any sign of it. Well, we had given it one more try, in fact, two. But between the wind and these wild birds, we just hadn't seemed to put it together. I gotta commend Brandon though, and before you judge him too harshly, you should know this is big country. And like I said, these are wild birds. They run before they fly, and when they do fly, they get out of town in a hurry. Still, we'd give it our best effort. We'd tried, and unfortunately, it just hadn't come together. That being said, there really were plenty of opportunities. We flushed birds just about everywhere we went, and Brandon got plenty of shooting. It was tough shooting, but he got his chances. This area in South Dakota really is pheasant rich, the best I've seen in 30 years of running around the country, and I knew Brandon would be trying it again soon. Real soon, in fact. We were on our way back to the truck when we actually saw a couple of roosters run out a dead-end fence row. I know you nailed him. I saw him fall. He's right over the fence. And friends, clearly above the roar of the wind, I could hear the relief, the joy in Brandon's voice. He finally had his first bird. Right there. Brandon's, hold that up. Brandon's first pheasant. Finally. Yay. 40 mile an hour wind all day long. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
South Dakota. It is different, isn't it? That is your first rooster.
Yes, it is.
What do you think? South Dakota.
Big country.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Land. It's beautiful.
Congratulations,
Fine.
man. Nice job.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Finally, I seen when you pulled the trigger, that bird rolled over. I said, you know what? He hit one.
Praise the Lord.
Well, you know, you hit it, clipped a couple, drew some feathers, but this is tough. I mean, these birds get up.
And they move.
Yeah, well, in this wind, they really move.
Unreal.
All right, well,
What do you say we go get a couple more?
we got about 28 minutes for quitting time.
Sounds good. Let's get it to it.
All right, buddy. Congratulations.
Thank you again.
Just like that, Brandon had his first bird. I was relieved and excited, even more excited, I think, than Brandon. It was such a relief to see him accomplish something when you set out to try something new. It rarely works the first or second time, and unfortunately, a lot of guys just give up and quit, and he hadn't. And I have to tell you, you could see the light come back into him, the energy. He was so excited, I asked him, you want to try one more time? And he actually said he had enough gas to keep walking up that fence row. Folks, a little success will push you a long, long way. My friends, I truly do apologize for all the horrible wind noise and the hard to hear. But once Brandon finally got his first bird, I couldn't hardly tell him, okay, let's go ahead and quit now. Especially not with another rooster working his way, sneaking down through the grass right out in front of us. We kept pushing that bird down the fence row until he finally ran out of cover, and then... There, you got him! Good shot, man! All right, brother. All it took was a 40-mile-an-hour wind. Well, there you are, brother.
Number 2. I'm
You're,
getting the hang of it.
you ready to go home?
I'm getting ready to go home, you bet.
Hey, nice job.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. You're getting it.
We'll get her sooner or later.
And then people that make shotgun shells, their kids got to eat too.
But I can keep them in business.
Speaking of eat, let's go find some supper.
Sounds good to me.
All right, buddy. That, my friends, is why there's no quit in our outfit. Congratulations, Brandon Jewelries. You stuck with it, you worked hard, and in the end, you made it pay. Friends, we miss. We don't always get the big one. We suffer the same hoorays and heartaches, the hits, the misses that everybody else does. And if you're out there, you know that's the way it is. That's what makes hunting and fishing the out of doors so great. The challenge is the same for everyone. It is truly the most level playing field of all the world. The out of doors doesn't care if you're 8, 18, or 80, man, woman, or child. The challenges are real, and we're all going to suffer some losses, some misses. I personally feel it's the spice that makes success taste so great. And I have to tell you, very few men I know would have suffered those misses and that effort better than Brandon Jewelries did on that trip. He never complained. He never quit. He was always gracious, and I think we could all take a little lesson from him. I truly believe that if you face your adversities in the out of doors with the resolve and the patience that Brandon did, you're going to enjoy your time, hit or miss, a lot more. Hey, I hope we see you out there. And if you're looking for a place to chase some roosters, to either start yourself on a pheasant hunting career or get back to it like the good old days, Central South Dakota, the area around winter, certainly has the birds and the opportunity. I know we'll be going back, probably after some practice busting a few clay pigeons, but either way, if you head out that way, you just might see us. And if you do, well, you know we'll stop, lend you a few extra shotgun shells, because I'm pretty sure you won't take enough, and then we're going to share that cup and a fire. And if we don't see you out there, friends, well, then I'll wait for you right back here so we can share another adventure from my Wilderness Journal.